Being a conversationalist has taught me that some of life's greatest value comes from the stories, journeys, and experiences of others. Through this podcast, I'll be speaking with some of the most tapped in and inspiring individuals from various different industries to unpack the gems behind successfully navigating our way through life with purpose. This is Candid Conversations on the Nicola Dawkins podcast. Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Nicola Dawkins podcast. I am your host, Nicola, of course, and I'm here to bring you guys another solo episode of the podcast, which is actually going to be an episode. Really, I'm going to be led in this episode. I feel like there's been so much going on recently, personally, worldwide, and it's a season. I feel like this has been a season. If it has been a season for you right now, irrespective of what that's looked like, please just hit me in the comments and let me know kind of how you guys are getting on. Drop some gems in the comments for everyone else, just on maybe what season you've been going through and how you've overcome it. Because what I have realized recently is, just for me and the people I know, everyone is going through so much right now. Everyone is facing some form of battle, whether that be spiritually, financially, in their relationship, with their family, with work, in their business, whatever it might be. Everyone is facing some form of battle. And I don't know if it's because I am getting older now or because we're getting older now, why it seems so much more apparent. But I just don't feel like we had this amount of pressure and this many quote unquote problems early on in life. Like around the little era of age 21, it was about what are we wearing this weekend, who's driving, who's buying the drinks, what club are we hitting up, or whatever it might be. And of course you grow, you mature, and life comes at you. Adulting starts to seep in. But recently, particularly over the past 2 to 3 years, I would say it's just become more apparent, the battles that everyone is having to face in this season. And for those of you who are watching, including myself, who are believers, who are led by faith, what do? We call on God. And sometimes we call on God and he's immediate or pretty quick with answering our prayers and bringing things to fruition, changing situations, working in situations, or working in us to overcome those situations. And at that time we scream, God is good. Something happens in our life, we say God's plan, putting on Drake, God's plan. And that's when we can see firsthand how God is working. We feel like everything's going to plan, and we're happy to kind of champion his will and champion his plan. And what's becoming more apparent to me as of recent is, yes, God has a plan. My faith will remain. Sometimes, I'm not going to lie to y'all, it's a mustard seed. Sometimes I'll be coming to y'all with the mustard seed of faith, Shah. But God said that's all you need to move a mountain. So even if you are in a season right now where you are lacking in faith, where your faith right now isn't as strong as what it was before, as long as you can just hold tight to your mustard seed of faith, God is still working on your behalf and you have hope for a brighter future. But what I'm noticing right now is the things that have been going on in life, in my life and the lives of the people around me, it's been some difficult pills to swallow, if I'm going to be completely honest and transparent with you. And it's been a bit of an eye-opener, because it really put a magnifying glass on that saying, God's plan, God's will, we trust him. And sometimes God will put us through seasons where God's plan isn't looking like what we wanted for ourselves. God's plan isn't looking like the prayers we've been putting up. Sometimes God's plan comes wrapped in confusion for us, and we need to lean on him for clarity, which he will provide all in due course. Sometimes God's plan comes in pain. Sometimes we feel pain, which is tied in with God's plan, and it's not that he intended for us to feel pain, but he will turn all things around for our good. So sometimes when we are feeling that sort of pain, we are able to just put it on God's shoulders. And whilst in that season, it's hard for us to really accept God's plan or God's will. Sometimes we do need to just blindly walk in faith and trust that he is going to sort everything out for us. because I know everybody going through it, child. I know too many people who are going through it in whatever realm. And to be honest with you, finances are the least. When people have financial struggles, and we've all been there at some point in time, it's funny because whilst you might not have maybe a load of finances, is it a struggle? Somewhat yes, somewhat no. What I find is actually when you put your faith in God and you actually do ask God to provide for you, he comes through and he provides every time. Sometimes we don't know how he's going to provide. We don't know who he's put in our life to bless us. We don't know what bill suddenly, why aren't they taking their direct deposit? Oh, it's just not going to be taken this month. You've had a month of grace or whatever it might be. He always puts something in place where finances are concerned. And I'm not going to lie to you. And what I will do is in part 3 of the Leaving My 9 to 5 series. So this episode will come to you in between that Leaving My 9 to 5 series, which even that, God put a change in my life this week, which funnily enough, these episodes, these particularly the solo episodes, I've been speaking to you guys and I have really used those episodes to speak to myself during this time, because what is interesting is the Leaving My 9 to 5 episode part 1, I filmed in May. I filmed it in May, and late June, you guys know me, and I don't want to share too much of it in this episode because I want to keep it in that series. But you guys know me if you've been listening to me for long enough or following me for long enough. Some of you might be my friends and my family who watch this. I'ma always talk to God. I'ma always say, God, these are my needs right now, or God, I need direction, or lead me, or what is your will? And that's not to paint myself as the most obedient or faithful person, but especially as of recent, since knowing God, I always call on him to find out what is your plan, what is your will. And May, I filmed that episode, the Leaving My 9 to 5. If you guys have seen that, which you probably would have by now, it just speaks about the last 3 years, really, my journey from taking that leap of faith to where I am today, where I was in that current day, which was May 22, that was filmed. June 22, end of the month, I'm in deep prayer. Lord, you know my needs, you know what I want, you know where I'm trying to go. What is your will in this season? Like, what's the next breakthrough? What have you got lined up for me? And I received a phone call, and that phone call consisted of a job offer in the previous sector that I worked in, and it was mathing with where I was in, or where I am in this current season. Practically, but not spiritually. I said, but Lord, and trust me, it gets at that. Sometimes we got to question God, and we're not supposed to question God, but as humans, sometimes we just can't help it. Because I said, but Lord, everything was ticking, everything was mathing. I knew you had something in store for me, but I didn't see it being this. And I'm kind of spoiling it now because I really wanted to save all of this till part 3 of the series, especially because I need it to marinate. I still am gaining understanding on the situation. But cut a long story short, it was just presented to me. It was presented to me. It worked, and I had a peace in accepting it because I knew it came from God. And sometimes people ask, and please tune into part 3 of that series, which maybe next week it will come, because I do want to delve in deeper, and I don't want to share too much on here and then end up repeating myself in part 3. But sometimes God throws us curveballs. Sometimes the journey doesn't look like what we perceived it would look like. And I'm happy to be obedient. It was never my actual intention to step out and do too much in any case. I never had any aspirations to become an entrepreneur. It's just where God led me to, and will continue to lead me to. This is just part of the journey, and sometimes we really just have to accept the journey. And I was like, Lord, but you got me out here talking, like, but it's important. Talk about it. Talk about where you are currently and where you end up, because this is the truth and this is the journey and this is what it looks like. And you guys, I'm so passionate about pursuing purpose, and whatever purpose is and wherever I need to be to serve my purpose in a current or particular season is where I'm prepared to go. Lord, take my words with a pinch of salt now. You know when you say, Lord, use me, suddenly you're getting thrown from pillar to post, going through some things for some testimonies. So, I'm always careful when I say, Lord, use me, because yes, I know my God, but I'm still human. But that's the banter. God's got banter. God has banter, but I really had to take some time to let it marinate, just because it was so far off of what I thought was next. But God's plan, not our own. And yeah, I had to really train myself. And like I said, I really don't want to say too much because I don't want the next episode to be spoilt. But just to give you that word, that I really had to train myself into a position of gratitude during that time. And that sounds crazy, because what a blessing, what an opportunity. But there was something in me. I was grateful in my mind, but in my heart, I was disappointed, if I'm honest. Yeah, actually, that's the first time I've actually said that out loud. But funnily enough, this has been my first week back. It's been a blessing, and I knew it would be, because I knew this has been led by God. I knew He's going to pattern everything the way it needs to be, and that it's going to feed me the way it needs to. And it's done me a world of good, if I'm completely honest with you. So yeah, I'm not going to share too much in this episode, but yeah, I really had to pull on that. Speak to yourself, check yourself, and sometimes just take an inventory of yourself and your, in fact, I will tap into that just shortly. But yeah, long story short, that's where I am at the moment. And like I said, please tap into episode 3 of that series, because I will go into it a bit deeper. But God never fails to remind us that He is God. And I'm grateful that I have always addressed Him as such and understood Him as such. So sometimes when my own plans or my own desires are not given to me, I'm able to kind of accept it in a certain way. But it is always a work in progress. It is always a work in progress. What I was saying prior to that is God provides. We were talking about finances and financial issues, and I've noticed, in my journey, honestly, God has made all things possible. Like, honestly, just to give you guys an insight, there will be just things that you want when you're walking in accordance with God's will. When you say yes to Him for certain things, and He sees you making the sacrifices that you need to make to work with Him in what He's doing in your life, He knows, He genuinely, when they say God knows your heart, God really knows our heart. And anyone who knows me, any of my friends, any of my family, or even if you followed me for a certain amount of time, you will know that I don't miss a birthday, child. I'm a big celebrator of my birthday. I always love to do something exciting. I always love to plan something. And this year, 2022, was my 30th in March. Obviously, this was the route. And if you listen to episode 1 of the Leaving My 9 to 5, you would understand the journey and everything that I explained to you guys. But March 22 was one of the roots of the Lord, I'm in the midst of this right now, but this is what I want for my birthday. I had some real big plans. I said, Lord, I want a party. I don't just want any party where I'm inviting everyone around. I want it to look like this. I want this. I said I would love to go out for a meal on the weekend with just all my friends. I want to do this. And in fact, inclusive of that, I told God at the top of the year, or I might have wrote it down, and I'm going to find it. It might have been in my daily intention planner. Small plug. But I did say at the top of the year that I also want to travel again this year. That was something that was big on my list, that I really want to be able to travel again this year. Didn't know how, didn't know when, but I really put my requests forth to God. And true to His name, my birthday, which was in March 15th is my birthday. What was it? 2 weeks prior to my birthday, God provided the means for me to have exactly what I asked him for. Exactly, through and through. And I forgot actually. Sorry, I know this episode is a bit PC, but I asked God to just lead me in this episode, and to just speak through me, because I know there's so much on my heart and so much going on at the moment, and I didn't want to pre-plan whatever it is that he wants me to speak about today. Leading up to my birthday, actually, I watched a what's his name? I think it was Miles Monroe sermon about fasting. Now, I don't know if you guys fast. I don't know how much you guys know about fasting. And I myself don't even know too much about fasting. And to be honest with you, before March, I had only ever tried it once, collectively with my family, when my nan was unwell. So literally, that was the only time I'd done it, and I'd done it as a collective, an initiative from one of my family members. But it's not something I really fed into. It's not something I had really tried before. And a lot of people go, right, I'm breaking that into prayer and fasting because I need this to come to fruition. That was never me. But the topic of fasting kept coming up. Fasting kept coming up. And I knew, I think God's telling me to fast, but you know how I love my food. I love my sporadic eating. I don't have a routine as such. So I always kind of ignored it. I thought, I've been fine so far. I don't need to fast. God still blesses me. I ain't ever fasted before. But I've said to you guys before, God will meet us where we're at. So if he's telling you to do something, or he's opening your eyes to something, we're going to be held at a higher accord when we are aware and conscious of it. If we know no better and we're just living in our truth, God is going to have extra grace for us because it hasn't been revealed to us yet, or we haven't understood it. So fasting kept coming up. The topic of fasting kept coming up. And it was in fact my uncle who sent that Miles Monroe sermon about fasting to the group chat. And even when I saw that, I was like, okay, I see God. God always going to show it to you. So because it kept coming up, and I wanted to understand a bit more about the fasting, I watched the sermon, and Miles Monroe, it was a really good sermon, but he really preached and broke down the power of fasting. He was talking about his own experiences with fasting. He was saying anytime he really was asking God for something, he will do full fasting, X, Y, and Z, and done. So I was like, all right, I can't remember when this was, maybe mid to late Feb. My birthday's mid-March. I wrote a list of everything I wanted, everything I was praying on at that time, literally, physically a list. And I said, all right, I'm going to try this fasting thing. So every day I would wake up, I'll go through the list, I'll pray to God, I will speak out name by name, situation by situation, thing that I'm asking for. Lord, this is what I need. And funnily enough, at that time, I just completed a clean eating for 4 weeks. So I had no sugar, no salt, no snacks, no nothing. And at that time, it felt like cutting out food would have felt a bit too easy for me because I was detoxed. I wasn't even craving food. I knew that wouldn't be that big of a sacrifice. So I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm fast off of social media. I'm not going to log into my personal social media. I can't remember how long I set my thing for. It might have been 7 days, which if you're new to fasting, please ease your way into it. Start with 3 days. Maybe then 5 days, maybe then 7 days, maybe then 2 weeks. I know some people go crazy with this fasting because 7 days was a big ask for me. But I gave it a conscious effort. I probably lasted maybe 5 days. But the Lord knew that was what I had in me and what I could offer at that time. And that's not even a cop-out. Like, genuinely, I committed and did the best that I could. I kid you not. Numerous things on that list that I prayed for, including my birthday, came to fruition. And I was like, this can't be a coincidence. Like, But okay, cool. Still didn't do too much. And then this situation with the work, where I was praying and said, Lord, you know what? You know my situation. You know what's coming up. Let me know what is your plan. I didn't even ask God at that time for anything in particular. I just said, I know you know what's best for me. Get to work. And I got a call. And that was the call with the offer. And I was fasting that week from Monday to Friday, with a group of people prior to a church event that was happening on the Saturday. And I think it was the Wednesday I got the call. Literally. So might be a converted I'm still working my way into the fasting situation, but I don't think it's a coincidence that genuinely when you do make that sacrifice, and the second fasting I did, we couldn't eat from 6 till 1, so that wasn't even that difficult. And it's funny because I didn't know how that was going to unfold, whether we were going to speak as a group, because every morning 6 a.m. we had a Zoom to pray. And I didn't know whether it was going to be as a group or if we're going to individually pray but just hold each other accountable. So it's funny, I started to write a list like I done last time, and then I got the link for the Zoom. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. Logged into the Zoom. And the first thing the lady who was hosting this praying and fasting said was, we're not fasting to coerce God into anything. We're not fasting to really ask God for anything. We're fasting so our voices which we are praying in this time are magnified and lifted up to him. So literally after I came off that Zoom, I was like, okay, scrap the list. Lord, you know what time it is, in your hands. And faithfully fasted that week. And lo and behold, that was the call. I just got the call. So yeah, that was it. Literally, that was it. I'm going to definitely practice it a bit more. I do need to get more faithful with my sacrifices. And as you guys know, and again, I don't want to talk too much about this transition at the moment, because I do want to save it for the next episode. But as you guys know, throughout all of this, I've been really focused and zoned in on sacrifices, like where I can just, what I need to sacrifice, whether it be my finances, whether it be my time, whatever it might be, just an offering. Just to what's the word? To show, to demonstrate kind of just my dedication really, and what I've been trying to do recently, because the timing has changed and everything, is trying to sacrifice a bit more of my sleep and just be more focused, waking up early, going to the gym. I'm really trying to just knuckle down on 5 a.m. waking up and just being intentional and faithful during this process. And I just come to you guys humbly just to let you know that it is a journey, it is a process, and we have to respect the process. We have to respect the process. We have to trust the process, and never be so righteous to your own plan and your own will that you maybe overlook what God might be telling you to do or where God might be leading you. If you are blessed enough, it will be in tandem, we'll be in tune. Where we're at is where God wants us to be, and he continues to lead us. And a lot of the times that is the case. But sometimes where we want to be or where we want to go, God's got something different in plan. And it might not be that where we want to end up ain't going to happen, but we just have to take a different route, and we just have to trust God on his routing. I don't know why I'm saying route like an American. It's route. But we have to trust God's route, honestly. And lastly, I just want to close out with saying, if you are going through anything at the moment, if there is any pain that you are carrying, if there is any hurt that you are carrying, if there's any worry that you are carrying, any fear that you are carrying, anything that is weighing your spirit down, anything that is hurting you, anything that is hindering you, anything that continually plays on your heart, your mind, or your spirit, I just want to pray for you right now and ask that it is released from you. I pray that the Lord bestows peace upon you. I pray that you are able to just operate in this world. I pray that you are just able to operate day to day. I want you to know that you are not alone, that so many of us walk around with a heavy heart on a daily basis, irrespective of what that might be. It might seem like you're isolated at the moment. It might seem like you're on your own. You are not on your own. There are people out there that can relate, and also God is with you, holding your hand through this season. So just keep the faith, even if it is a mustard seed, and know that tomorrow is a brighter day. You just hold on. Even people who are out here and with smiles on our faces or offering motivation and encouragement for other people, everyone does life the same. Life is just one game. There are no rules to life that favors anyone from anyone else. We have to be true to the seasons. Everyone has their seasons of their highs, their lows. And if there are seasons where you're not really feeling happy, don't worry. A lot of people aspire. In fact, I will do an episode about happiness versus joy. That's been on my heart sometimes as well, because a lot of people aspire to achieve happiness in this life, and they use that as their destination. When you say to someone, what do you want in life? They go, I just want to be happy. But truthfully, I believe happiness is an emotion. So you can't obtain happiness. You can't be happy. You can't aspire to achieve happiness in life, because you're never going to be happy every single day, for every month, in every year, until we're out of here. It's physically impossible, because life happens. Things around you happen. Circumstances change. So if your aspiration in life is to be happy, maybe stop trying to seek happiness and seek joy, because joy allows you to keep your sanity, to keep your faith, to have peace in moments where your happiness is challenged. It's not to say you're not going to have or experience happiness in this life, but happiness can be taken away from you and joy cannot. So definitely, and I read that in a book. I think it was God's Power to Change Your Life, about happiness. And honestly, I believe it, because I look around and nobody's happy. Nobody's happy every single day, because I believe it is an emotion. You feel happy. Happiness is a feeling, and you can't feel happy all the time. So seek joy. Even in your moments of hardship, you can still be joyful. You still always have the Lord's peace available to you, and His strength to help you get through your darkest days. So thank you so much for tuning in. This has been another episode of the Nicola Dawkins podcast. I am your host, Nicola Dawkins, founder of the Purpose Platform. This podcast is powered by the Purpose Platform. Please like, comment and subscribe. If you are watching on YouTube, tap in with me. Let me know that you are here. Please follow the podcast on all other podcast streaming platforms. And you can check out the Purpose Platform on Instagram at the Purpose Platform. And you can check out myself on Instagram at Nicola KBD. That's Nicola KBD. And all the relevant links are in the bios. See you soon. Bye.